Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Prep Sports Now, a Las Vegas Sun podcast. I'm Ray Brewer, the managing editor here, and for the first time in Prep Sports Now history, we're talking, a good 15 years. Flying solo, my co-host, Case Kiefer, is covering the Golden Knights tonight. Last week he was doing the Raiders, and just a real pivotal part of the season. Thought I would come to you guys with a new podcast, doing it Han Solo. And throughout the years, a lot of our loyal listeners have said, hey, man, I want to get on the show. And I've always said, no, it's going to be Case and I. But in situations like this, I should maybe plan a little more ahead and call someone in here to get an outsider's look on prep football. So we'll give some shout outs today on the show. And I guess I will's a bad thing. And we'll give the picks at the end like we usually do. Just to let you know, I'm on fire right now with the picks. Went 16-1 last week. The week before, I went 17-0. So I don't know, 33-1 the last 2 weeks as we come down the home stretch. And for the year, I'm 121-20 overall. So some shout outs. We got to start with all the interesting news. First, we'll go with Bishop Gorman, the number one ranked team, not only in Nevada now, in the entire nation. The Gales moved into the top spot in the Max Preps poll after St. John Bosco beat Mater Dei last week. Really interesting story on Sun.com right now and in tomorrow's Las Vegas Sun, where we talk about after Gorman beat Desert Pines last week, they were on the charter bus back to the school. Yeah, they don't take the old CCSD buses like everybody else, but they were able to stream the Mater Dei St. John Bosco game, obviously needing St. John Bosco to beat Mater Dei. Mater Dei is number one, undefeated. Gorman and Mater Dei aren't playing, so the only way to get the mythical national championship is to have some help, and they got some help with a victory by St. John Bosco. So now Gorman, if they win state here in Nevada, which theoretically they will, they'll win that mythical national championship. It looks like they'll be playing Liberty for state. That game will be at Allegiant Stadium, and it's going to be a fun ending for the Gales as we head down the tracks. I got to give a shout out also to the Shadow Ridge Mustangs, who 2 weeks ago, we didn't do a show last week, they gave Bishop Gorman a great game, only trailed 7-3 at halftime. And I know I've told Case over the years that there's one way to beat Gorman, in my opinion. And I always thought Arbor View could have been the team back in the day because Arbor View with Dan Barneson ran that misdirection, time-consuming ball attack. And that's exactly what Shadow Ridge did. They limited Gorman to one possession in the first half and only trailed 7-3 at halftime. Now, Gorman ended up winning by about 4 touchdowns, but you see there's a blueprint out there for folks to follow. Shout out to Travis Foster, the coach of Shadow Ridge. He had a great blueprint. But what about the Mustangs? They rushed for 339 yards against Bishop Gorman. Think about that. A team that was in the 4A last year, this year, goes for 339 yards against basically the best team in the nation, according to Max Prep. So shout out to the Mustangs. More specifically, shout out to Cone Colomé, who went off against Gorman, as did Evan Cannon, 2 100-yard rushers against the Gales. Way to go, Shadow Ridge. They play Thursday night against Liberty to close the season. I'll get to that in my picks, but I actually think that game's going to be a lot closer than people expect. Back to last week, wanted to give another shout out. Got to go back to Gorman. Micah Alejado, the quarterback, is having one great year. He's completed 78% of his passes on the season. He's thrown for 26 touchdowns. He hasn't been intercepted. So think about that. Not one interception. And, of course, Gorman's playing that national schedule. 78% of his passes have been completed. So shout out to Micah, a great senior season. He's the reigning Gatorade Player of the Year, probably in the driver's seat to win the award again. I was at a great game last Friday night. Henderson Bowl, my favorite. There's been 30 of these Henderson Bowls I've probably been at, 28 of them, give or take. Case did one when I was out of town, And I think the first few years of the rivalry, I was, still in high school myself. I graduated in 94. The rivalry started in 91. But just a fun night of high school football. It is awesome when Basic and Green Valley get together. Green Valley had a great showing. It was their homecoming. I love the pregame festivities. Shout out to my guy, Gavin Blondeau, homecoming king for the Gators. And just a back and forth game. A lot of turnovers on both sides. Defenses played great. Came down to a field goal at the end, and Green Valley missed it. Not necessarily the kicker's fault. They were rallying in the 2-minute drill, had to rush the kicking unit onto the field, and it was so rushed they weren't able to get a clean snap, hold, and kick. Green Valley prevailed 19-17. The Wolves get the ball back for the first time in, I believe, 5 tries in 7 seasons when you factor in the COVID pandemic cancellation years. But awesome job by Jeff Cahill, the Basic coach. Shout out to my guy, Antoine Taylor, defensive line. He really had a great game. Zuri Witters had 3 interceptions for the Wolves. And Centennial's Ty Hanley also had 3 interceptions. And the Bulldogs win against Mojave. Centennial wins the league title. I think the Bulldogs are going to win state. So shout out to them. Way to go. Awesome performance by Basic, by Zuri Winners, by Ty Hadley. Love being at that Green Valley game. What a great night of high school football. I had a few coaches from around the valley texting me wanting to know the score of the game, saying how great it is that these two teams lived up to the mantra of being rivals. It was a clean game. There wasn't any late hitting. There wasn't any of the talking trash. I think it was just kids who love high school football, love being part of the rivalry, enjoying their moment in a game I don't think they're going to forget at all. So way to go, Green Valley. Way to go, Basic. The Wolfpack is back. Henderson Bowl champs. Hell yeah, as they say. Speaking of rivalries, we got a big one coming down the hatch Friday night. It's the Hammer game. Moapa Valley against Virgin Valley, Mesquite against the Overton School. It's one of those games every year. People are like, you got to get up there for this. You got to get up there for this. And I really want to, but if I go up there on a Friday, it kind of takes me out of the equation for all the other games. So if they were ever going to play on a Thursday night, I'd be up there with bells on. I love both of those communities. I think Matt Woods does a phenomenal job at Virgin Valley. I will tell you right now, in my opinion, and I know people think I'm crazy with how Slam has been like the best team in the 3A, right? They were state runners up last year. They're going undefeated in league. But I still think, in my opinion, and my opinion matters, right? 120 and 21. Chase Audison, for me, is the best player in the Class 3A. He's been banged up. He got banged up a little bit last week. I don't know if he's going to play and if he's going to be at full strength. But to me, between Gunnar Cortez passing and running the ball and Chase Audison, Virgin Valley has got live action against whoever they take. Coach Woods does a great job. Of course, Moapa Valley has been Moapa Valley. They lost a game at home to Slam, and I think everybody thought the cupboard was bare for them. But here we are. We're getting close to Halloween. The Pirates are 7-2, 5-1 in league, and they've just been going through other teams, like it's nobody's business. Last week, 36-6 against Democracy Prep. The week before, 53-0 against Pahrump, 49-15. 42-9 against Boulder City. So after losing 34-7 to Slam, which it got away from them late, the Pirates have given up 30 total points in 4 weeks. They've got Moapa Valley. Again, rivalry game. Throw all the records and stats and numbers and all that stuff out of the window. When Mesquite comes down to play Overton, or when Overton comes up to play Mesquite, whether it's Little League Baseball or Pee Wee football or high school softball, you name it, it's going to be a really closely contested, high-intensity, fair game. I love both programs. I really appreciate what everybody's doing. And I think both of these teams are going to have live action as we get later in the season, into the playoffs. And there's a way. I'm looking at my guy, Lake Tahoe guy, has been blowing me up today. Blowing up Kiefer too, so I appreciate that. But my guy, Lake Tahoe guy, was texting me earlier. I'm trying to find the text, giving me some of the playoff scenarios. And here it is. Okay. Says it looks like Moapa Valley is going to have to go north again for the state semifinals, which, of course, that's always tough to do because it's colder up north. It's tough for smaller schools to travel. But if any team's going to do it, Lake Tahoe guy, it's got to be Moapa Valley. Those guys got the big bags. They know what it is to get up there. I just think between Moapa Valley and Slam, Southern Nevada has two teams in the 3A that really could make a difference. I wouldn't be surprised if we're at Allegiant Stadium with Slam and Moapa getting down and dirty for the state championship. I think it's a game everybody wants, except, of course, if you live up north and you're part of the lower levels. So kind of just to break it down, 5A, we got Gorman, Liberty, Arborview, Desert Pine, Shadow Ridge. The big boys are going to play. That's going to be a great playoff, but look for Gorman and, of course, Liberty to make it. That lower tier, though, that second tier, the Class 5A Division II, boy, that is going to be fun. We're going into the last week of the regular season Friday with Foothill, Faith Lutheran, Green Valley, and not Green Valley. Faith Lutheran, Foothill, Basic, all in contention to win the championship. If Basic were to beat Foothill and Faith would win, all three schools would have the identical record, and it would go to a tiebreaker. And listen, I'm not good at math. I can't figure out who would be where, but so is life. It's going to be a great playoff. And you know what? Even though Foothill, Faith, and Basic are 1 through 3, I think 4 through 6 with Green Valley, Sierra Vista, Las Vegas, equally as good. I'm not equally as good. That's not fair. But has there been blowouts in any of those games? I mean, Basic beat Vegas 50-43, and they needed to do it on, at the end of the game, right? Basic barely beat Sierra Vista, right? Foothill was beating Faith 21-3. They could have probably done more, but Foothill was losing against Green Valley in the second half 2 weeks ago. Foothill struggled against Sierra Vista a little bit. I just think it's wide open. It's going to be fun. Last week we also saw Legacy in the Class 4A beat Palo Verde. Legacy's going to win the league title. And the other cool thing about last weekend is coaches were saying, hey, yeah, this team finished there. If you finished in the top two, it's like European soccer. You get promoted up to the next division. So teams are saying, like, for example, Legacy is going to get promoted up. And in the 5A, like Silverado, which didn't win a league game, is going to get promoted down. And somebody like Foothill is going to get promoted up. So that's pretty cool when we're talking about how the leagues are going to change next year based on the results this year. One of the new wrinkles of realignment. So shout out to Legacy. They clinched the division title. We already said shout out to Centennial. Of course, we've got Sunrise Mountain, big victory over Canyon Springs. Canyon Springs previously undefeated. Looks like Sunrise Mountain's going to win the championship. Who knows who's going to play who when the playoffs come? Lots still to be decided. Chaparral, my Cowboys, going against Sunrise Mountain this weekend. We'll get everything untangled and figure out. We'll have playoff brackets come Saturday morning. I'll get a story posted online on Las Vegas Sun so you guys could kind of see who's playing who and kind of get excited for the postseason. But let's get to the picks because, like I said, I've been completely on fire. I'm getting hot at the end of the year. And we'll start on the Thursday night light game. It is the Shadow Ridge Mustangs going to play the Liberty Patriots. Listen, Shadow Ridge is really impressed everybody this year. Don't quite have the athletes to keep up with, the Liberties and the Gormans and the Arborviews. But I think they found a way to kind of control the clock, and I think they keep this close. So Liberty wins, but I think Shadow Ridge only loses by about 14 or 15 points. Moving on to Friday night. Virgin Valley, Moapa Valley, the Hammer game. And I got another close one. I got Moapa Valley 24, Virgin Valley 18. I just think that, I've been saying Chase Audison's name for years. If the kid plays with the rivalry, nobody's going to blow out anybody. And I don't think Moapa is built to put a 40 spot on a good team like Virgin Valley. Foothill at Basic, one of my games, the battle for Boulder Highway, right? Basics on one side of Boulder Highway, Foothills on the other. A lot of these kids grew up going to the same middle school, maybe Burkholder Middle School. A lot of them played on the same Little League teams or youth football teams or Henderson Parks and Recreation basketball teams. And there's that built-in rivalry. It reminds me of the very first year Foothill opened, 1999. They played at Basic. It was standing room only. It was so cool of a game. I think Foothill, those studs on the outside, super athletic, the Falcons. I got Foothill beating Basic in the battle for Boulder Highway 37-23. Next game, Silverado at Arborview. Interesting fact, the Arborview coach, Matt Gerber, the Silverado coach, Andy Ostalaza, they were high school teammates at Valley High School. Now they're veteran coaches, two of the more respected guys out there, both in their late 40s. They're around my age, and they run great programs. Of course, Ostalaza's won two of the last state championships in the 4A. Arborview's going to put it on them, but it'll be a fun game for those two friends to get together. Class 5A, Coronado, Bishop Gorman. Listen, the Gales are not going to lose the number one ranking to Coronado. Look for Gorman to roll 49-0. Durango Desert Pines, non-league game, last home game for the Jags, getting ready for the playoffs. Desert Pines rolls 48-16. Faith Lutheran Vegas. Listen, all signs here point to Faith Lutheran winning the game, but I'll tell you what, it's not going to be easy. I love the Kitty Cats. They won last week. This league, I told you, 4 through 6 could beat 1 through 3. We'll see how that theory holds up. Faith Lutheran 23, Vegas 16. I've got their Crusaders, but this will not be a blowout. Canyon Springs, listen, they lost last week to Sunrise Mountain. They're playing Valley. Let's get ready for the postseason Pioneers. They roll 50-13. Sierra Vista Green Valley. Was really impressed with the way Green Valley rallied at the end of Henderson Bowl. Even more impressed how they stayed on the field and talked it out for a little bit after the game. I think the Gators not only win this week, I think they win a playoff game next week. I got Green Valley 21, Sierra Vista 9. Pinecrest at Eldo, picked El Dorado. Regardless of the outcome, they play next week in the playoffs. But the winner tonight, or the winner Friday, gets a home playoff game. Okay, next. Sunrise Mountain, Chaparral. Hate to pick against my Cowboys, but as Kiefer said, Sunrise Mountain is the better team. I do think the Cowboys' misdirection rushing attack will be problematic for Sunrise Mountain. I only got it a 4-point spread. I can't make a $5 bet with myself. I'd like to, but I got Sunrise Mountain in a close one. Legacy, Desert Oasis. The Longhorns, if they listen to this, they might have a bad game because I think they're the favorite every week through the state tournament. The Legacy Longhorns could be winning state. They narrowly beat Palo last week. They're in the driver's seat. Give me the Longhorns. All right. Clark at Spring Valley, 2 one-win teams. Kind of neighborhood rivals there on the Southwest. Spring Valley's been brutalized by injuries all year. I think they rally. I think they get a 1-point win, 27-26 over Clark. Del Sol at Bonanza, our next game. Listen, Bonanza from 2018 to 2022, that's 4 seasons. They won 4 games. Friday, they're trying to win for the 4th time. If they do, we ought to send a note to the realignment people and say it worked for those Bengals of Bonanza. I got Bonanza 29-23. Cheyenne is hosting Centennial. Very important game for DJ Campbell, the first-year coach of Centennial. He is a Cheyenne graduate, loves the school. Had a great talk with him Friday night. He told me that it will be emotional going back to Cheyenne. You know, when you're like locals like DJ and me, and you grow up in a certain community, you just love it. And like Shap is like part of my blood, and I could never be on the other sideline, because I'm a Cowboy for life. And I love those kids over there, and I advocate for those kids over there. And he feels the same way about Cheyenne. So shout out to Centennial. They're going to roll the Desert Shields. But I know my guy, DJ Campbell, who I've grown to love here in the last few weeks, last few months since I've gotten a chance to talk to him. I know it's going to be a hard night for him, and I hope he's got a smile on his face and that he reconnects with some old friends. Listen, when Cheyenne was rolling, baby, there ain't no better team in town than Cheyenne. When, knocking Gorman out of the playoffs and doing what they do. Next game, Palo Cimarron. Come on, we all remember when Palo Verde opened, they took kids from Cimarron. It was even, it's a 2-decade rivalry in the Summerlin part of town, I guess, if you want to label Cimarron part of Summerlin. Palo gets back on track. They beat Cimarron 27-19. But boy, do I remember some of those legendary games of the mid to late 2000s. Just fun football. Somerset Losi at Mojave. Somerset's running on everybody. I mean, Dan Barnson could get me and Kiefer and a few other people in the newsroom to run that wing tee and get 200 yards a game. Somerset big. Here's a game that I think they should have played 10 times. Western against Rancho. Neither team has won this year. Last game of the season. I got Rancho. I got my coin. I flipped it. Landed on heads. Give me the Rams 13-12 over the Warriors. Here's one. I got to go against one of my theories. Boulder City at Pahrump. Now, listen, I've long said nobody goes to Pahrump and wins. It's a tough drive. The referees are homers, to say the least. But I got Boulder City 23-20. They went up there. They won a playoff game a while ago. It's all legals all day. They get a tough win. Boulder City 23-20. Last but not least, Slam Nevada. They've already got the league wrapped up. Even if they were to lose the Mater East, which isn't going to happen, they win a tiebreaker against, everybody else. It'd be Mawapa Valley. And Slam is going to be a tough team to play in the playoffs. I love what Coach Kofer's doing over there. Shout out to those guys. I know for a fact nobody wants to play them in the North, and it's been fun. I will say this, guys. I should do this podcast by myself more often. It's only 22 minutes, but it was very informative. Shout out to all the ballers. We did our high school basketball media day yesterday, kind of getting ready to transition to a new season. But first, we gotta hand out some jewelry. Somebody's going to Jostens to get a state championship ring, and I think it's cool that like a Foothill or a Faith or a Basic could be in line. Please beat Minogue. I don't want a Reno school to get it because they complained that they didn't want to have to play against Gorman. So rooting for whoever represents Las Vegas in that game, and I will, talk to everybody next week. I really appreciate you guys listening. Hey, hit me up if you want to be a guest host because I need some help. God bless y'all. Have a great week. Remember, Sun Standout, baby. Here we go.